Welcome to the Light Dance Soaring Free channel.
Glad to be here.
Today we are setting out on a deeply fascinating and honestly, a pretty sobering mission. We are taking a deep dive into the source material of counseling psychologist Ting-Shu Cheng.
Yes, and specifically her analysis of what she calls the relationship economics ledger.
Right. Our goal today is to really dissect the hidden costs of success and, kind of strip away this illusion of pure meritocracy we all cling to.
Exactly. We're looking closely at the invisible contracts that we sign in both our professional and our personal lives.
So with that framework in mind, I have a question for you listening right now, and I want you to answer it honestly. If someone asked you what body part you use the most to make a living, what would you say?
I think most people would instinctively point to their brain, right?
Yeah, for sure. Or maybe their hands.
Right. Depending on your specific trade, it seems like a perfectly straightforward question about human capital. We're taught that intellect, creativity, or, physical labor are the primary engines of our livelihoods.
Yeah, that is the comfortable assumption. You study hard, you apply your intellect, you put in the sweat equity, and you get paid.
But Ting-Shu Cheng's perspective completely flips this on its head.
It really does. She argues that if human resources departments were actually honest, our resumes would look entirely different. Like, we aren't just paying for our success with our brains.
Yeah, we really aren't.
We are quietly paying in installments with our vocal cords, our knees, and our smiles.
It's a striking premise, honestly, because it forces us to confront the actual currency of social mobility. Before we can evaluate the individual toll of these invisible contracts, we have to look at the grading rubric of society's tests for success.
Okay, so what does that rubric look like?
Well, according to Ting's clinical observations, there are essentially three ways people get ahead. You can trade on sex, you can trade on relationships, or you can trade on resources.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the societal reaction to those three categories is wildly inconsistent.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like a VIP club with a deeply hypocritical bouncer. If you are on the outside of the club looking in, and you see someone use a connection to skip the line, you call it corruption, right? You call it nepotism.
Right, of course.
But if you're already inside the club, and you hold the door open for your cousin or your college roommate, you call it taking care of your own. You call it loyalty.
Yeah, the psychological mechanism behind that hypocrisy is fascinating. We see this massive disparity in how society judges these three currencies, despite the fact that they are used to achieve the exact same result, which is gaining an unearned advantage.
So true.
Let's look at the first currency. If someone trades on sex or uses their physical body in a literal sense to secure a position, society initiates this brutal public shaming.
Oh yeah, they are completely ostracized.
Exactly. They become the scandal of the office. But if someone trades on relationships, say, calling in a favor from an uncle to secure a promotion, or leveraging an alumni network to bypass a hiring freeze, society actively praises that behavior.
We label them as highly socialized. Like, we literally buy books on how to emulate their networking skills.
We really do. And then there's the third currency, which is resources. If you are trading on inherited resources, like being born into significant wealth or marrying into massive capital, you don't even have to take the test.
You just get automatic admission to the VIP lounge.
Right. You bypass the entire struggle proving your competence.
Wait, okay, so if we are perfectly fine using our inner circles to bypass the rules, and we basically hand out automatic passes to the wealthy, why is the public outrage toward the first currency so intense? Like, what is the actual psychological function of that shaming?
Well, the outrage serves a very specific purpose for the collective ego. By pointing our fingers and fiercely condemning the person who, quote-unquote, slept their way to the top, we get to feel morally clean.
So we manufacture a scapegoat.
Exactly. Society needs that public condemnation to maintain the illusion that we're operating in a pure meritocracy. We draw this completely arbitrary line based on who is considered an insider. It all happens on the exact same transactional spectrum, but we label the currencies we personally have access to as clean just to protect our own sense of self-worth.
Wow. And to really grasp how we determine who gets access to those clean currencies, the source material brings in this brilliantly clarifying concept from sociologist Kowtow.
Yes, the differential mode of association.
Right. It explains the unwritten rules of how relationships are structured, particularly in Chinese culture, though honestly, the underlying psychology plays out in corporate structures worldwide. He asks us to imagine dropping a stone into a calm pond.
It's such a great visual. In this model, you are the stone at the center, and the moment you hit the water, concentric ripples spread outward.
Okay.
The first tightest ripple around you represents your blood relatives. The next ripple out is your in-laws, then your peers from your hometown, followed by your colleagues, and finally, at the very edges, mere acquaintances.
This unspoken system of concentric circles dictates precisely how resources, forgiveness, and favors are distributed.
Precisely.
Which means the grading rubric changes depending on which ripple you occupy, right? Like, if an accountant in the outer ripple makes a financial error, they get fired for incompetence.
Yep, no hesitation.
But if a cousin in the innermost ripple makes the exact same error, they get a gentle reprimand and maybe a transfer to a different department because, family looks out for family.
Exactly. It's not written in any corporate handbook, but it is infinitely more powerful than any MBA curriculum in determining how high you can climb or how far you're allowed to fall.
And this brings us to the most sobering realization in Ting-Shu Ching's clinical work. Since relationships, inherited resources, and our physical bodies are merely different currencies on the same spectrum, how exactly are we spending ourselves without realizing it?
Yeah, that's the real core of this. The source material details 2 really poignant case studies from her counseling room that illustrate the hidden mechanics of these transactions.
Let's look at the first one because it really highlights the installment plan of the body. There's this woman in her 40s who came into the clinic, very elegant, wearing low-key designer clothes. When she was 20, she married a man 2 decades older than her. She was entirely transparent about the arrangement. She stated clearly that she wasn't forced into it, her family desperately needed the dowry to survive, and her husband was fully aware of the dynamic.
Right. She believed she was making a straightforward, one-time trade her youth and physical beauty for a permanent ticket to a higher social class for her entire family.
She viewed it as a lump sum payment.
Exactly. But the psychological reality of that contract is that it is never paid off. Over the next 20 years, she had to continuously honor the unwritten terms of that agreement.
Which means what exactly?
Well, the installment plan required her to perpetually maintain a perfect youthful figure. She had to project this elegant, unbothered smile regardless of her internal state, and she had to play the role of the quiet, beautiful vase on his arm at every single social function.
The heartbreaking part of her testimony is how alienated she was from her own suffering. Like she sat in the therapist's office saying, no one forced me. I made this choice, so I don't know why I'm in so much agony.
Yeah, the brain has an incredible ability to use the concept of free choice as a weapon against itself.
Totally. Because she technically signed the contract willingly at age 20, she felt she had no right to complain about the daily suffocating reality of being an ornament at age 40.
That illusion of choice is a highly effective mechanism for keeping people compliant in these relationship economies. And we see the exact same mechanism in the second case study, which on the surface looks like the complete opposite end of the privilege spectrum.
Okay, tell me about this one.
So this patient was a middle-aged man working in his family's business. He had access to the ultimate resources from the moment he was born. He relied on his father's connections to secure his very first business order.
Must be nice.
Right. He relied on his father-in-law's reputation to get access to broader markets. And when he inevitably faced lawsuits, his former classmates who had become powerful lawyers and judges quietly made the legal trouble disappear.
Oh, okay, wait. I have to challenge this right here. I genuinely feel terrible for the woman who traded her youth to save her family from poverty. But why should we, are you listening? Why should we pity this guy?
I know, it sounds a bit counterintuitive.
He sounds incredibly privileged, not victimized.
Right.
He had a company handed to him on a silver platter. He had legal immunity because of his rich friends, and he never had to struggle for a foothold in his industry. Where is the suffering in that?
It is a fair question because society conditions us to view a lack of friction as the ultimate success.
Right.
But clinically, this man was experiencing a total collapse of identity. In the therapy room, he confessed that he had never earned a single dime on his own merit. Every achievement on his resume was just a web of other people's power. He was merely a passive node being threaded by their lines of influence.
So, because he never faced a true test of his own competence, he basically had a completely hollow core.
Precisely. He had absolutely no idea what his true self-worth was, independent of his father's name or his father-in-law's money. He was suffering from a profound loss of autonomy.
Wow.
And this exposes the brilliant cruelty of this relational economic system. It doesn't need to use outright violence or coercion to trap you. Instead, it wears the incredibly convincing disguise of opportunity.
It's so insidious.
You walk into a room, you shake hands, you accept an introduction, you think you are just conducting standard business or marrying into a supportive family. But years later, the psychological toll reveals that you've stamped your own fingerprint on a modern-day indentured servitude agreement.
You sold your autonomy piece by piece under the banner of free will.
Exactly.
That ties perfectly into Ting-Shu Ching's sharp observation about the actual body parts we are trading away in these scenarios. We love to tell ourselves we're knowledge workers trading our brilliant brains, but in reality, we are trading our livers at endless Thursday night corporate mixers, drinking until we feel sick just to maintain the network.
Yep, the physical toll is real.
We are trading our vocal cords by constantly flattering executives, laughing at jokes that aren't funny, just to ensure we stay in the inner ripple of the pond. We are trading our knees by essentially bowing and begging for favors during holidays and banquets. It's physical labor disguised as socializing.
Which leads us to ask, where exactly is the marketplace for this physical labor? Like, where are these transactions taking place?
Right.
Ting-Shu Ching uses a brilliant spatial metaphor here. She calls it the bed, but she expands it far beyond any literal or sexual connotation. The bed, in her analysis, represents physical space and proximity to power.
I found this metaphor incredibly clarifying. The bed isn't a hotel room. It's the seat you can never seem to get next to the chairman in the weekly board meeting.
Yes.
It's the VIP table at the company's year-end party, where all the actual strategic decisions are made over drinks, long after the formal presentations are over. It's the family shrine during a holiday gathering, where who is permitted to stand in the front row dictates the unspoken hierarchy of the entire clan for the next 12 months.
It's all about access.
The physical proximity itself is the capital.
Your physical presence in that highly guarded space is the resource being actively traded. You're exchanging your time, your liver, or your smile just for the right to occupy that proximity. And this proximity is where the system manufactures its ultimate, most insidious product.
Which is?
Well, the end goal of this entire relationship ledger isn't immediate cash or a one-off favor. The ultimate product is invisible interest.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When I was reading about invisible interest, the only analogy that made sense to me is a predatory credit card.
That's a great way to think about it.
Right. But imagine a credit card that has no stated interest rate, no written terms and conditions, and absolutely no due date. You accept a seemingly small favor today. Maybe a senior colleague makes a quick 2-minute introduction for you at an event. You swipe the card, it feels entirely free. You might even forget about it. But then, 3 years later, you get the midnight phone call.
Yes, the midnight phone call is the classic manifestation of compounding invisible interest. The person who made that casual introduction 3 years ago is calling you in the dead of night to say, my delinquent son is in some serious legal trouble and I need you to use your current position to quietly bail him out.
And the terrifying part is that you have absolutely no power to say no.
No.
The interest has compounded in the dark, multiplying exponentially because the terms were never defined. It's paralyzing. You suddenly realize you can't quit a toxic job because your manager is your father's oldest friend, and leaving would bankrupt your father's social ledger.
It's all connected.
You can't get a divorce because your family's small business has been secretly propped up by your in-law's supply chain for a decade. You can't even skip an agonizingly boring dinner party because the host did you a solid 5 years ago when you were struggling. You are tangled in a massive, suffocating web of unwritten IOUs.
The source material describes this dynamic beautifully, comparing people to silkworms.
Silkworms.
Yeah, we go about our lives furiously networking, trading favors, owing people, and being owed in return. We spin these threads of obligation day after day, and ultimately we end up suffocating in a cocoon of our own making.
Wow.
And the mechanism that makes this cocoon so unbreakable is a cultural concept known in Chinese as Sinja Busuan, which translates to tacit understanding.
Okay, let's dig into how that actually functions, because it seems like the glue holding this whole terrifying system together. How does a tacit understanding enforce rules better than a written contract?
Well, think about it. A written contract has boundaries. If a contract says you owe a 5% interest rate, you pay exactly 5% and the debt is cleared. The limitation is spelled out in black and white.
Right, there's an endpoint.
But Bushun operates entirely in the realm of the unspoken. It encompasses all the things we mutually know but fiercely avoid saying out loud. Because the terms are never spoken, there is no ceiling on what can be demanded of you.
That's terrifying.
The ambiguity is the weapon. If you break a written contract, you face a predictable legal penalty. If you violate a tacit understanding, like if you refuse that midnight phone call, you don't just lose a business deal, you face total social annihilation. You are exiled from the inner ripples of the pond.
So we are all just silkworms spinning our own trap.
Essentially, yes.
Which naturally leads to the most urgent question for you, the listener. If we're inherently trapped in this relationship economy, simply by virtue of living in a society, if completely escaping the concentric circles is impossible because we're human, how on earth do you audit your own ledger?
It's tough.
How do you survive this ecosystem without losing your identity or suffocating under the weight of invisible interest?
Well, Tim Shu-Ching doesn't offer a naive utopian solution where we all move to the woods and stop interacting. But she does introduce a profound concept that acts as a survival mechanism. She calls it sincere redundancy.
Sincere redundancy. I love the phrasing of that. But what does that look like on a random Tuesday in a high-stakes corporate environment where everyone else is ruthlessly playing the game?
It looks like deliberately introducing an inefficiency into your own economic model of relationships.
Like intentionally making a bad trade.
Sort of.
Oh.
Sincere redundancy means choosing to help a junior colleague who is drowning in work, not because you are mentally logging it as a favor to be weaponized and called in later, but simply because you retain enough humanity to remember what it felt like to be young, overwhelmed, and in need of a lifeline.
You just help them to help them.
Yes, you offer the help and you intentionally let the ledger go. It is a redundancy because it doesn't yield a strategic return on investment, but it is sincere because it preserves your soul.
It's the radical act of refusing to charge interest.
Yes, and it requires immense discipline in the other direction as well. Sincere redundancy means having the grace and frankly the courage to politely decline a seemingly helpful favor, because you recognize that accepting it will trap you in a tacit understanding you simply cannot afford to pay back.
That takes a lot of self-awareness.
It does. And alternatively, if you do accept a favor, it means taking it with genuine present moment gratitude, rather than feverishly calculating in the back of your mind exactly when, where, and how you need to manipulate circumstances to repay it. It acknowledges that we live in a system of exchange, but it forcefully leaves a gap for us to still be human within the machinery.
That brings to mind the final image from the source material. The one from the clinic that just lingers with you long after you read it. It was the 40-something woman who had traded her youth for the dowry.
Right, her story. After months of peeling back all the layers of her invisible contract, of understanding the daily toll of her perfect posture and her unbothered smile, she told the therapist something remarkable. She said she no longer wanted to win the game.
Yeah.
She didn't want to renegotiate a better contract or secure more inherited resources. She just wanted, for once in her adult life, to wake up in a bed where she was the only one in it.
Meaning she finally possessed herself.
Yeah.
She was no longer an asset strategically placed in someone else's space.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't paying off a 2-decade-old family debt with her mere physical presence. It is a moment of profound, quiet clarity in the clinic.
She finally understood the true cost of her ledger. Her ultimate desire wasn't for revenge against the system or for more proximity to power. It was simply for autonomy. Quiet, unburdened space of not owing anyone a piece of her identity.
That's incredibly powerful. And as we wrap up this deep dive into Tim Shu-Ching's incredibly insightful work, she leaves you with 2 final questions to audit your own life. First, is there an unpaid debt in your relationship ledger right now that you still don't know if you should repay? And second, if you decided to stop trading today, what part of yourself would you want to take back first? Is it your voice that you've used to flatter, your knees that you've used to beg, or your time?
Those are critical questions for self-reflection. But exploring the mechanics of these ledgers brings to mind another angle, one that requires us to look outward.
Oh, like what?
Think about the next generation. We spend our adult lives aggressively building these networks, exhausting our social capital, and calling in every tacit favor we have to give our children a head start in life.
Right, getting them into the best schools, entry-level jobs.
Exactly. We pull strings to get them into the exclusive schools or secure them the right jobs in the inner circles. But when we do that, we have to ask ourselves, are we actually just signing them up for a generational installment plan they never consented to?
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Are our ultimate gifts as parents actually the heaviest, most suffocating debts they will ever have to carry?
On this channel, we don't serve instant feel-good pep talks, but walk with you to see the truth.
Subscribe to the Light Dance Soaring Free channel, share our content, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell. See you next time.